Welcome to the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society. Welcome to ITSPmagazine. Knowledge is power, now more than ever.
Marco.
Sean.
I'm feeling the UFGs.
You have no idea how much more scary and frightful it is to have you start a podcast lately, because I had no idea where you go.
You have no idea what a UFG is. I didn't until a moment ago. The unidentified flying guests. We have two guests on today.
See, and I'm supposed to read your brain like this?
I'm supposed to read my mind.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
Yeah, keep wondering. Yeah. Oh, man. Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back home.
Let's start again.
No.
But not really. We're already launched. Can't start over. Here we are. On a serious note, we're on the road to Las Vegas. Hacker Summer Camp is upon us. There's a lot going on. For the whole week, Black Hat, DEF CON, Diana Initiative, Girls Who Hack, Black Girls Hack, tons of stuff going on. And researchers, government, policymakers, companies, they're all there, right? Taking a look at what's going on. And this is a topic I love, Marco. I mean, we've been talking about it quite a bit over the last couple of months. We actually just finished a session with Johannes talking about LEO, the low Earth orbit satellites, and really cool talk he's got going at DEF CON. I'm excited to talk about the Aerospace Village today.
Absolutely. It's kind of like going home.
I know.
It's honestly, it's like, oh, there is a podcast. Do I need to get prepared here? No, I know these guys. I've been there, done that. I know you. And by you, I mean our friend Steve, and which brought another person that works at the Aerospace Village. And I heard she does a lot, Lillian. And just a little. Well, We'll learn. We'll learn more. We're here to learn.
Just once a year, just a little.
Just a little once a year.
I'm sure it's just a little. But the goal here is to actually, show and tell, if they're watching the video, hi, we're here. If you're listening, we're still here as well. And we're going to talk about the Aerospace Village, which is, to be honest, one of my favorite, because I like space. I like to have space around me, literally. So, Sean, you excited to get the thing going?
I like safe space. So I'm all about that. So, I mean, before we get into it, though, somebody's been on the show quite a bit. So chances are you've heard him on the show, but we still want to know who you are, Steve, for those that are joining new, because like I said, we've talked a lot about aerospace and space, and I'm certain we have a new audience that have not met you virtually yet. So introduce yourself, and then hopefully they get to meet you in person in Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you again. And you're right. As I look back on it, I feel like it's always the first time of wanting to come in and looking forward to the discussion and wanting to. And I'm like, wait a minute, I've done this before. Like you said, like, hey, these are my friends. So this is awesome. Thank you. And so my brief introduction, then I'm going to pass it over to Lillian. Steve Luczynski. I have been with the Village early on, helping out in the beginning. And then I've had different roles, from the executive director to where I'm doing now as the board chairman. So running the nonprofit side of things, helping to make the connections and support the work that Lillian and others are doing when they are putting on events. And I came to this role in my time in the Air Force flying. So as a pilot, having that interest from the flying side, I got into aviation cybersecurity and I worked at the Pentagon, and I escaped there by retiring. And I stayed in the cybersecurity community as a chief information security officer. I worked briefly for the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency during COVID. And now I'm at Accenture Federal services and working on critical infrastructure security. But I really enjoy is all the time I get to spend with folks like Lillian in the village as a volunteer. And that's why I'm glad she's here today. So Lillian, I'm going to pass it over to you. She is one of our awesome volunteers, and she'll tell you about what she's doing.
Yeah, as Steve had so eloquently said, I'm Lillian Ashbaker. I'm one of the volunteers at the Aerospace Village. I run the call for presentations program at the village. So whenever somebody wants to do a presentation or has something that they want to come show and talk about, comes through me, then we all discuss it within the village in order to determine if it's something that we want to bring. And then I put together the whole entire schedule and run the madness for 3 days. This is the third year I've done this.
She makes it sound so simple. I
know. I just wake up in the morning
and I deal with all your people and all your good ideas, and then it just shows up at that time.
It's real easy when you can just say, yes, we can do that, Steve. It's no problem.
Well, and I know that's why it's not easy, because I'm the one contributing to all of that.
Yeah.
So what is all of that? What is all of that? Yeah, we want
all of that. So this year at the village, we have Hackasat is going to be giving a briefing once a day for an hour. So they're taking up a little bit of our time in the village, but we have a total of 18 talks in the village. Quick numbers: 6 of them space themed, 7 of them air themed, 1 of them for ground systems. That's a presenter from TSA talking about the screening equipment security. And then 4 kind of more focused on the policy side of things. So we have everything from talk on secure micro patching on the ISS, something that you really wouldn't think about, how they do software updates over the air to the ISS. Everything down to talking about CubeSat resilience, to threat modeling, to Steve doing a fireside chat with the TSA administrator.
Yeah, so I want to make sure we don't go too far. So I hang out on the nonprofit side. Lillian knows what's going on, so bear with me while I ask questions like a host. But I want to make sure the Hackasat is that. I think we have those opening each day, the 1-hour talks you mentioned, right? So they're kind of kicking off our day of presentations because of what they have going on.
Yep. So they'll give a 1-hour briefing of what's going on in the Hackasat competition, what happened the day before. On Sunday, they're going to be giving their award ceremony in the village. Yeah.
So that for Sean and Marco, you said you just spoke with that team, right? So you already have some background, but the short summary for this crowd, if they're not seeing both, which who's not watching all your podcasts, but just in case. This is the 4th year of Hackasat. It's our 5th year of the village, so it's our anniversary. We're excited about that. Coming back to DEF CON. It's the 4th year of Hackasat, and more importantly, it's their finals with an on-orbit CubeSat. So everything that Lillian talked about of the space talks we have, the fact that there's talks specifically about CubeSat, Hackasat talking. There's talks about CubeSats. There's talks about ground control segment security. We're going to have a CubeSat there because of Cal Poly bringing one in. And if you really want to get into more things about ground stations and communications, we're going to have SpaceX with a table there with one of their ground stations. And we think we're going to have an engine in a spacesuit. We're working on the logistics. So yeah, just a couple of other things wrapped in that reminded me when you said that, Lillian. So anyway, back over to Lillian. Thank you.
Yeah, back over to you.
Yeah. So any questions about our presentation lineup that we have?
Loads.
Yeah, I think we do, and I'm gonna have Sean go with that.
So I want to hone in on the zoot suit that you're going to be hacking. No, I'm just kidding. So I want to highlight the Hackasat and the Moonlighter. So I had a chance to speak with Logan, Jason, and Aaron, and I mean, talk about preparation for this event and things like this you do all year long. It's not just at Hacker Summer Camp. but they actually launched for real a few months back in preparation for this event so that it could be hacked, a satellite in orbit. And I mean, it's really cool. And I think the question I have for you coming from that, because that was one conversation. We had another one this morning looking at low Earth orbit satellites. There seems to be more on this topic of aerospace and protecting all of the pieces and parts that make it all run. So I'm wondering, Lillian, to you, the types of submissions. I don't know how long you've been involved, but are there just a ton more submissions coming through, and what are the topics like? Are they deepening? Are they broadening? Who are the people that are submitting them? Are they researchers? Are they with companies like sharing their ideas and thoughts now?
Yeah, so this is the third year that I've done all the talk proposal preparation for the village. So this year has probably some of the most CubeSat centric stuff. About 2 years ago, it was very heavily more on like drones a few years ago. This year, so we have one about ransomware resilience and CubeSats. There's another one talking about the attack chains for different low Earth orbits. We also have a team from the White House National Cybersecurity Directive coming in to speak on what the White House is saying with regards to low Earth orbit satellites and how that's going to be affecting the future. So it's not just a company or a couple of researchers, but it's also government coming in and talking about this.
Yeah, and I'll add in the folks from the Office of the National Cyber Director. Their work also with the National Space Council, so they have that experience to share with us, like what Lillian was saying. But they're also bringing in the elements from earlier this year, the National Cyber Strategy, that was Cybersecurity Strategy, and today the National Strategy for the Cyber Workforce. So we've been working with them, the village, and our representatives, working with them throughout the year, connecting with them, and then now having them also talk about that workforce, not just for all cybersecurity, but the specifics when it comes to aviation and space, because of the growth, because of the shortages, because of the need, the interest that people have. This, like, DEF CON is such a perfect bringing all those together and having these conversations and the things that Lillian talked about, like having that all in one place.
You need people, Marco. You need people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, I want to take this opportunity because before we start recording, we were saying, you know, it feels like we've done this so many times that we almost repeat ourselves, but it's not really true, because I remember the first year or the second year of the village, and I remember where it was a big success, the fact that there were people from the White House actually walking through DEF CON for the first time and connecting. And so these conversations that are happening now, that seems like, yeah, you know, just wake up in the morning, call a few people in Washington, and, you know, I bring them to DEF CON.
Yeah.
And it wasn't always like that, right? So can we take maybe a couple of minutes to kind of, like, you know, walk back in memory lane and the beginning of this, like that need that was there to have this conversation and a place to have it. So maybe both of you can brings your perspective on it.
Yeah, you bet, Lillian. I'll start off just based on kind of village history perspective I can throw out. You're right. I definitely, especially when you put it that way, it's like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, let's brag about what this group has done and what this group's been a part of, and hopefully help spur some of those actions. 2019 is when we had the first aviation village, and that came from efforts of, for folks who may recall, back in 14 and 15, different media articles, claims about things being done with both aviation and space assets. What was written versus what happened, what was talked, just all these different things. And I know what I saw working in government and on the military side of what was going on behind the scenes. A lot of that was not talked about publicly. And so as that changed, and you had things like the Atlantic Council report about aviation cybersecurity and the acknowledgement, there are things going on that we should talk about. And we should talk about it in a way to make sure people know this is why things are safe and secure. And where it isn't, this is why you can still trust those systems, because you got smart people working on it in the background. And I think, Lillian, some of your perspective from work that you've done in the past may be able to add into that.
Yeah. So, my work for the Aerospace Village is work that I do at night. My day job is with a major aerospace airframe manufacturer. Prior to that, I was at a aerospace supplier for 15 years working on avionics. So, with all of the different speakers that come from the Aerospace Village and come to talk about this research that they've done, it really spurs on people who are interested, who might be working in the industry, that want to learn more about cybersecurity within that sector, because it's not something that you talk about every day. And that's something that I had learned about in my day job, was that we're building safe pieces of electronics every day to put onto civil aviation aircraft. It's not really talked about every day about what cybersecurity looks like for those aircraft. But there are people that work on those, right? And so I wanted to get more involved in that aspect of it. And I think a lot more people in cybersecurity want to learn more about what that means, what it means to build a box that is safety critical, or a function or system that is safety critical for civil applications. And so by bringing in a lot of the government agencies, the White House, or TSA, or even the critical, or CISA.
Yep.
That brings a lot more light into these areas, that people can start to see that, hey, the government's starting to talk about this, we can start talking about this, and now it's not just something that we have to whisper about in the back rooms.
And which spurs the thought, one of the talks that we'll have is a 5-year retrospective. So, taking that history that I started describing, and what I saw from the government side, the military side, what Lillian saw from the industry side, those are the things that we saw early on in the village. And there was some hesitation of, what are you all doing? And what kind of claims are going to be made, and gotchas, and just all these worries that different entities, private sector, government, all of them had concerns. And then the work that was done to overcome those. And so to go back to what you started with, Sean, or Marco, the idea of, well, that's what we did back then. What are we doing now? Now, when we're asking folks, please come in and talk, the beauty is Lillian has a hard time, because there's lots of submissions, and having to sort through and figure out what to bring on stage. The fact that we can say, hey, we've got some smart folks from the Office of the National Cyber Director, the TSA administrator, all the different industry, the companies, big companies that you're going to recognize the names of, that are our partners, either speaking or bringing in activities, to small companies that are doing very little niche work, but incredibly important in the impact it has, and who they work with, and where, oh yeah, that's part of what's in space operations or aviation. So it is a good reminder of, holy cow, yeah, look what we were doing now that we never in a million years would have thought of 5 years ago. And that's the fun part of having this retrospective and seeing that evolution over time.
Yeah. And one thing that we're trying to engage more of, at least it's my personal goal, is to start engaging more of the academic side of research, in order to get a lot more students, either in their undergrads or graduate programs, in order to come speak about the research that they're working on.
And we have one of those talks from Cal Poly.
We do.
I love it. And I think you kind of led me there, both of you, to where I wanted to go. And I'll kind of spin it a little bit, because I'll call it a full stack village where there's a lot going on, right? So people who are familiar with DEF CON know that there's a very strong hacking community, and you feed that group really well with hands-on simulations and devices and engagement with folks during sessions, but then all the way up to policy for the government. So I don't know if you can kind of paint that picture of what the hands-on stuff is, because they're not separate, right? Yes, different people have their own role to play, but what I've seen you do in the last few years is really pull that together in a way that they all connect and
absolutely. So I'm going to throw out our theme, our mission, because it's what drives how we put it together, and it hopefully it helps the audience understand and build, inspire, promote. It's that easy. The idea is building the relationships between government, industry, and security researchers. So when we say, you heard Lillian talk about, we've got these high-level government officials that are speaking, that are willing to come in and talk with us, all the way down, and the policy and government side of things, so that the hacker community can learn what's going on and appreciate it. They may not want to join in, or some of them go, yeah, I want to take my technical expertise and go help whatever it is. That's a great connection, and just understanding. The inspire part is inspiring people who want to get into cybersecurity. They're at DEF CON, they're probably interested in it. Some of them are old hand veterans, but they've never done something in the aviation or space sector. How do I do that? Some of them are brand new, and we want to help get them into the aviation and space sector. They're the next leaders after Lillian retires, and I'm still trying to figure out how to do things on the computer, and they're going to lead the way. And it's just promoting the work that people are doing. Like I will brag about Lillian because I'm not the technical guy, but what she's doing is the hands-on research to figure out and make the boxes safe. And others like her, whether they're in our village because of the diverse group and background and volunteers that we have, or the guests that we bring in who are super technical and they're giving those talks. And then so those things with our mission drive that variety of talks. It drives when we have activities. So I'm gonna throw out some of those, and hopefully that builds on the picture, and shameless promotion. So thank you again for giving the time there. But when we have partners, names right? Your Boeing, your Lockheed, they are coming in. They are bringing their experts. They are putting on capture the flags. Some of them are super simple, relatively simple. We call it crawl, walk, run. So more of the crawl stage for the folks who are coming in. They want to get hands-on. They want to learn cybersecurity, and they do it with an aviation and space approach to it. To more complex capture the flags in that run mentality, very complicated, very detailed, because they're bringing in experts who can talk across all of that. The Aviation ISAC is hosting a capture the flag created by and run by students from Embry-Riddle. So again, that student element that's in there. Smaller companies you may not have heard of, but you should know about them. CT Cubed, Intelligenesis, Pen Test Partners. They're bringing in hands-on, again, capture the flag activities, expertise, from talking about vehicles all the way to the runway lighting and the industrial control systems that run it. SpaceX, I mentioned them before. You may have heard of them. They'll be there, and we're happy to partner up with them. We partnered up with Blue Origin last year, so being able to bring SpaceX in this year is great. We have an Airbus cockpit simulator showing electronic flight bags, the iPads that a pilot uses, and how problems with that affects what they're doing in the airplane. A demonstration of drone technology. I mentioned a CubeSat that we're going to bring in. And on top of all of that, if you just want to hang, not only can you do those things and ask me anything. So the whole idea is, in these villages, you can get up close and talk to the experts. You can get to talk to the folks coming off the stage in a smaller area and hear their talks. But also, if you want to sit down and talk to somebody, and we're going to have a range of volunteers. It could be somebody from NASA. It could be somebody from TSA. It could be somebody that is a security researcher and that's their interest is drone technology. But they can talk to you about why did they get into where they are in cyber and engineering and government and private sector. And they can talk to somebody who's been in it a while that wants to transition over, or somebody brand new that's like, I don't know where to start. What can I do? And so that, again, when you kind of think about our mission, hopefully it makes sense to go, that's why they have such a variety. And that's our audience is across all of those capabilities and all of those experiences. And I get a little bit excited talking about it. Once again, I realize this is why I like coming on here so much and rambling, but I appreciate your attention and patience.
I will point out that there's one other activity that you missed, and it's the always popular bricks in the air.
Yes, holy cow, that's ours, for crying out loud. I can't believe it. Please, Lillian. What is that? Make sure everybody knows. I can't believe I forgot it.
So it's a little guided hacking activity with a Lego model aircraft off to the side. That as you work through different parts of the guided exercises, it triggers different behaviors of the aircraft. So it makes some of the propellers spin, or one of them will spin at a different rate. And different lights turn on and off, a whole bunch of different little things. So it's a really great way to get started, to learn, to get interested, and also bring your kids and see some Legos there.
Bring your laptop, bring the kids. It's guided. Yes, totally. Thank you. I can't believe Dan's not going to let me forgetting that one.
So I don't know at this point, how can somebody be there in Las Vegas and not be tempted to come in? I mean, unless you really hate aerospace, you have to come because there is so much going on. I don't know.
Especially chances are you took a plane to get to Vegas.
Absolutely.
If you want to sit in some airplane seats, we're going to have that. If you had some water and peanuts on your flight out, we might have some of those available. There's a number of fun things mixed into all of that will.
And you know, the other thing is so embedded in our everyday life, right? You know, this is not the time of Panham anymore, where it was such a luxury to fly, and maybe more of a pleasure than what it is now, really. Personal experience coming back from Europe. But apart from that, I mean, all you're doing, it's amazing. I am always excited. But I know that maybe there is a couple more bragging that we can do here to tease Lillian about who will be some of the speaker. You want to highlight somebody that is going to be there before we say goodbye?
Yeah.
Here?
I think one great person to tease, as we had mentioned, Sage Meadows from Cal Poly. I always like to try to bring up a lot of the university students because it really is important to bring some of their work out of just papers and publications and onto a stage in front of other people. We have a really interesting talk that's going to be on the main stage, but also in the village from Paz Himiri about weather balloon radiosondes that they use in order to do weather measurements from different balloons. And so he's going to talk about the signals and how you can go about spoofing or protection schemes therein. That's going to be really great. Edom Cologne from TSA is going to be doing the cybersecurity briefing about the ground equipment. I know everybody loves to hate it, and so there's going to be some discussions about that.
Might as well learn how it works. And
Absolutely.
The beauty is Lillian has lined it up so you get your national cyber director team talking about the space side of things. When I talked to the TSA administrator, followed right by the let's talk about the TSA screening equipment. So a nice flow of everything right there on Friday afternoon.
Yeah, we try to capture everyone in at one point. Just get you sitting down for a couple hours.
Yeah, and then the other talks, I know, so we're working on Viasat and working on in the sense of they're either going to be main stage or both main stage and with us. And for folks who may be going to Black Hat, they're speaking there also. So again, it's not just the fact of hearing them, but you're in a smaller setting. And when you want to talk to those folks afterwards and get up close and one-on-one, being able to have them there is absolutely something we want to do. Chris Roberts is coming in. Pete Cooper, one of our co-founders early on, is going to do a talk with him and his work at Boom Aircraft now. So looking forward to that. Like I mentioned, also that 5-year retrospective. And then again, just it's the variety of things and the fact that we have a student who's going to an Air Force school that's coming in doing a talk. We have a researcher from Sandia National Labs who did some work on a aircraft that is also applicable in what he's bringing in as it relates to space cybersecurity. Pentest Partners is always one of our strongest partners. They're there. They're hosting a happy hour. I think it's Friday evening, Lillian, is that correct?
Friday evening.
Talks about their work on aircraft cybersecurity. And then, of course, a happy hour, that doesn't hurt. So yeah, just a variety of things there. And I will do another shameless plug. We will have another badge for sale. We'll space it out. So Friday and Saturday mornings, we're going to have this year's badge. Our badge guy, Dan Allen, knocked it out of the park once again. There's actually 2 badges. The one that's going to be at DEF CON between him and our artist friend, another Dan at Fly Surreal, another great badge. Activities, puzzles, things on it like you have seen before, and just what he naturally creates. But we'll have those available. And then for folks who are following us on Twitter, we have a donation badge, a Wright flyer, again, celebrating not just 5 years of us. That's a big deal. The other big celebration is 120 years since the Wright Flyer's first flight. So again, Dan created a badge, and it is just awesome. So
because
another one to add to your collection.
Because one wasn't enough.
That's right. That's right.
Couldn't decide on one to make.
That's right. One is the awesome donation. One's an amazing donation. So
that's right.
We're giving lots of opportunities. You can't stop him. He's addicted to it, and he's good at it. And then the other thing is you'll see the number of SAOs that whatever we decide as a group we're going to do, and then 20 more show up because people just love making them, and they're awesome. And I'm like, yeah, let's keep making them because they're fun to do.
I'm guilty of that.
Another one that's been hooked. Exactly.
Well, so I want to just and then we close here, and I'll have Sean, which is way better than me, to do the call to action for you guys. But I just want people that are listening or watching right now to understand that this vibe here is the vibe, but is multiplied by 1,000,000 that you get in the village, and is the excitement. I mean, we were there for an RSA conference, and that's the last time we saw each other. And it was even before it started, and Sean was there later. But it's like, we get to talk to everybody. Everybody is so happy to be there. Everybody's so excited. The folks at Boeing, the folks at C-Cube, and all of you guys are just like, what? It's like, you don't get paid. Why are you doing it? Because there is so much value. And let's face it, you're having fun too. So people can talk to you, and you guys are going to be so excited to talk to them. It's not a presentation. That's the village. The idea of the village is that you're in there. And this applies to every other village, by the way. So
and the village is global. We actually saw Pete Cooper in London.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's the thing, and you hit on it, Marco, is this is not paid. This is so much fun. The extra time, like Lillian said, right? This is not our day job. We'll work extra today to make up for time that we're happy to spend here. The time that we're doing things out there. It is a happy group. It is such a around the world group. The range of, again, young, old, new, very experienced. We've got commercial pilots. We got old guy pilots, government folks, industry folks, all of that. That's our volunteers. That's our audience. And so it's easy because these are the people we want to cater to and meet what they're asking for. And I think that's what makes the hard work everybody puts in, and then the fun that they have on the backside. And hopefully that's very obvious. And not even hopefully, it is very obvious. And I know, that's what our folks enjoy doing.
It's inescapable. You can't avoid it once you walk in.
That's right. That's right.
So I'm excited to see and hear how it all plays out again, August 10th through the 13th in Las Vegas. That's the weekend
You bet.
following Black Hat. So it's part of DEF CON, those few days there. I encourage everybody. I mean, it's an experience. If you haven't been, you must. And if you have, you already know it's amazing, and it continues to be. So thank you, Steve and Lillian, for all that you do, and to all the others that support you and that you support in making this possible, and to the badge makers who get the donations. So you can actually pay for the stuff, because the room, right. You have to pay for the room and all the gear. So of course, for those listening and watching, we'll include links to aerospacevillage.org, where you can check out, once it's live, all the panels and discussions and the fireside chats and other activities that are taking place there, and links to Steve and Lillian's bio, so you can connect with them as well.
Please do. Absolutely.
Yeah. And with that, not officially part of our Black Hat coverage, but it's hard to disconnect the two. But we have a lot going on that week, and it would be a huge mistake on our part to not chat with you. So thanks for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for the time, as always.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you learned something new and this story made you think, then share ITSPmagazine with your friends, family, and colleagues. If you represent a company and wish to associate your brand with our conversations, sponsor one or more of our columns. We hope you will come back for more stories and follow us on our journey. You can always find us at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society.